Chair Rios, we are ready to begin.
Board members, please turn on your mics. And good evening, everyone, and welcome to this meeting of the Historic Design Review Board. Today we are July 25th, 2023. First off, I'd like to welcome our newest board member, David Valdo, and he represents the Old Santa Fe Association. And welcome. And if there's anything you wish to say, now's your opportunity.
Well, I'd just like to thank everyone for having this opportunity, and I'm going to be doing my best to follow the code and the things that are presented to me, and in a fair and just way. And I look forward to the cases that come up. So thank you, everybody.
Thank you very much. And so this meeting is now called to order. And Melissa, may we have a roll call, please?
Yes, Chair Rios,
Here.
Member Guida, Member Aguilar Medrano,
Here.
Member Beachside,
Here.
Member Bienvenu,
Present.
Member Mather,
Here.
Member Valdo.
Here.
Madam Chair, you have a quorum.
Thank you very much. Are there any changes to the agenda? Heather,
Chair Rios, no, there are no changes.
no changes to the agenda. Is there a motion to approve the agenda as is?
Chair Rios, one moment.
There is a.
My apologies. So Chair Rios, one case has been postponed. Item number 4, case number 2023-6955 HDRB 578 West San Francisco Street. It should be postponed until the second meeting in August, which I believe is August 22nd.
Okay.
My apologies.
So with this change being made, is there a motion to approve the agenda as just amended?
Beachside so moves. Aguilar Medrano seconds.
Roll call vote, please.
Member Aguilar Medrano,
Yes.
Member Beachside,
Yes.
Member Bienvenu,
Yes.
Member Mather,
Yes.
Member Valdo.
Yes.
The motion has been approved.
Thank you very much. We have minutes of July 13th, 2023. Changes to these minutes. Anybody? A member Bienvenu.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I don't have any changes, but I was just curious. It seemed like none of the minutes had any board discussion in this set, and I was just curious as to whether there'd been a change in procedure.
Chair Rios, member Bienvenu, the way the minutes are being approached now, because we do have recordings readily available, is that they are summary minutes, and this was approved by the city clerk, Christine Bustos Mahilsik. So at this point, we're doing the summary minutes with detailed information on the motion and the vote. And Melissa, do you have anything to add?
No, I don't have anything to add, except if you would please be more specific or more detailed in the motions. I will record everything that you put in the motions, your findings is what, and everything, because she's going by the minimum requirements of the Open Meetings Act, which includes the action of the board. So if the motions are very specific as to what your findings are, if you want those included in the motion.
I suppose that makes sense. It's just that there were the same detailed comments from the public and from the applicant, but then the board's comments are not addressed at all. Is that deliberate? Because your idea is that the board's comments are somehow being incorporated into the findings and conclusions?
Chair
Or
Rios,
the motion?
Bienvenu. The public comments are very important. There's no doubt about that. It's just as the board is the body that acts on the case, that is why those comments are recorded in more detail. But the public comments are just important.
Right, but it's the reverse is what I'm saying, is the public comments are laid out in detail in the minutes, but then there are no board comments.
I don't recall being as detailed in the public comments in this last set of minutes that we did. I apologize if it appears that way, but I think I summarized them just as, as brief as possible.
All right. Again, I didn't see any real summary of board discussion I don't even think there was an indication there was a board discussion. It just launches into the motion. And that strikes me that there should be at least an indication, lengthy board discussion, see recording or something, but you would think reading the minutes that the board didn't say a word. And that does concern me.
Chair Rios, member Bienvenu, I'll work with Melissa and the city clerk to discuss your concern.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Member Benvenu. I also noticed this. And as I was reading the minutes, because Melissa is an excellent stenographer, recorder, and that popped out to me as well. And I'm just wondering, how is this going to affect the cases when you're not getting a thorough record? And you indicated that there will be some discussion at the city level, and I think that discussion should take place.
Can I make one more comment?
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I have, in watching the appeals of the governing body, on multiple occasions, I've heard them reference reviewing the minutes to understand how the board reached its conclusions. So again, I understand that for efficiency's sake, you're recording them someplace else, so the governing body could potentially have access to a verbatim recording. But somehow it just seems to me that that would need to be provided to the governing body then when something's up on appeal, which now starts to get rather.
Chair Rios, member Bienvenu, whenever something is taken to the council by staff, there is a section of the staff report where we review the board decision and the rationale behind the decision. And so that is spelled out, but I understand your concern. The minutes are also included in the council packet as part of the backup to the staff report. So and the findings of fact as well. So I will chat with the clerk's office on this.
I appreciate all that.
Thank you, and thank you for bringing that up, Member Benvenu. With that being said, is there a motion to adopt the minutes of July 13, 2023? Yes, Member Ben.
Sorry, just one more question, I guess, for staff. Often when we review the findings of fact and conclusions of law, I refer to the minutes to make sure that any conditions were captured correctly. Where can the board see the verbatim minutes for that purpose?
Chair Rios, member Beachside, what I typically do is I go back to the YouTube.
Okay.
recording.
I mean, that's what I do too, but I just wanted to make sure that's the only place. Yeah.
Going forward, that's correct.
Okay.
Until further discussion.
Thank you. I will now entertain a motion, please, to adopt these minutes.
Beachside will move to adopt the minutes from July 13, 2023.
And do I hear a second?
Aguilar Madrano, second.
Roll call vote, please.
Member Beachside,
Yes.
member Bienvenu,
Yes.
member Mather,
Yes.
member Valdo,
Yes.
member Aguilar Madrano.
Yes.
The motion has been approved.
Thank you. We have 6 findings of fact and conclusions of law. Changes to any of them? No changes. Is there a motion to adopt?
Move to adopt as submitted.
Aguilar Madrano, second.
Roll call vote, please.
Member Bienvenu,
Yes.
member Mather,
Yes.
member Valdo,
Yes.
member Aguilar Madrano,
Yes.
member Beachside.
Yes.
The motion has been approved.
Thank you very much. Anyone from the public in this room this time wishes to come forward and speak about whatever's concerning them? It appears not. You look like a pretty serious group out there. Anyone on Zoom?
Yes, Chair Rios, Stephanie Benenato would like to speak. Stephanie, you may unmute.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Great. I am concerned about the consequence of not having the discussion in writing for appeal purposes. We already have problems with the appeal ordinance. One, there's a discussion in which the land use director and the city attorney can decide that the appeal is not going to go forward. And they can even now just send a memo to city council, no discussion actually really happening. And the appellant is not notified of that discussion. has no opportunity to participate. And then there's the 35-day rule, in which apparently if findings of facts are not adopted, the decision becomes final, but not so much in your case because you do have YouTube. But for example, BOA, no YouTube, no minutes, no findings of facts for 4 months after the decision. But hey, you should appeal at 35 days, appealing in a vacuum. Now we have an efficiency measure that really, in my opinion, really violates due process. Because if you think a judge is going to sit there and listen to a YouTube video and watch it, they're not. Neither is city council. City council is already, like Renee Villarreal, can hardly be bothered to look at these appeals that are coming to them. So if you think they're going to take the time to watch the YouTube video, and none of you watch it, or maybe you do, but we don't hear about it. And so I think not having it in writing is actually a violation of due process, that we need things in writing, including the board discussion. It's incredibly important that the reasoning behind the findings of facts are laid out, as it is incredibly important that the public members and their comments are fully recorded, because you as a board, an administrative board, are actually supposed to be saying why. If somebody comes up and gives you a whole spiel about why you shouldn't do this and points to a law, you're supposed to say why you're not going to give that testimony much credit or credibility, or why you're going in the other direction. So I think, again, a full and complete record of the actual discussion, not relying on YouTube, because it's very time consuming to watch a video as opposed to skimming through minutes. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephanie. It appears that there's another person here wishing to speak, and that's John Eddy.
Madam Chair, I will do so. Thank you. I agree completely with Ms. Beninato. I agree completely with concerns brought forward by Board Member Bienvenue. When you watch a city council meeting, you can see lots of times, or assume, that people are reading the minutes in real time during the meeting, the minutes of a previous meeting. This public record as written down is very, very important, because it's an expedient way to go through the record. Sitting and listening to a YouTube or a Zoom meeting is very impractical and would require of them to sit there with earphones on so that they're not disrupting their own meeting to do so. So I think this is a clerical error that needs to be corrected going into the future. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Mr. Eddy. Anyone else? And no one else on Zoom?
No, Chair Rios.
Thank you. Anything under staff communications?
Yes, Chair Rios, members of the board. First of all, I would like to express my gratitude for providing some direction on outdoor dining. Last time we discussed that. As you may have seen in the paper, there's been a lot of conversation about that, and the city is identifying a strategy going forward on developing regulations and standards, and we've done some research. So you'll see more on that. It turns out that Public Works requires those Jersey barriers that we discussed last time. So I am getting from Public Works their standards from sort of a technical standpoint, and sort of brainstorming what are the things that we can do to make it compatible and not harm the character of the historic district. So I'll be reporting back to you on that in the near future. What staff has been tasked with doing is meeting with the restaurant owners and just going over the process with them, and the fact that they need to go to H board. So I've done that with Cafe de Ortiz, then I've reached out to the Plaza Cafe and so on. So you may be seeing those coming in the near future. The next thing is that the zoning code update assessment report will be coming to us, and we will be in the early fall having some public outreach meetings regarding sort of the direction that we've been given and priorities that we want to set forth as to the, progress of the code update and what should be phase one, which is, if you remember, the sort of cleaning up the code, making it more understandable. Lots of additions and changes have been made to it over the years, and sometimes it just doesn't make sense. Versus some of the bigger issues that are more substantive, which would be part of phase two. And that concludes my communication. So just stay posted for zoning code update meetings in September.
Thank you, Heather. Anything else?
No, Chair Rios.
Thank you. We have nothing under old business, but we have 3 cases under new business. And I do need to tell you a couple of things. Melissa, will you help me with the 2-minute limit on public speakers? Not people that are involved within the case, but people that are from the public wishing to comment on the case. And I also have to tell you, if you disagree with the decision that this board renders this evening, you do have the option to appeal to the city council. You need to do that after the findings of fact and conclusions of law have been adopted, and you have 15 days after those have been approved. So with that being said, we'll go to the first case, and is the applicant for 404 Apalaca Hill present? And the applicants are here. So Lanny, you have the floor. May we hear your case, please?
Good evening. Good evening, Madam Chair and board members. This is case 2023-007058 HDRB for 404 Apodaca Hill for a remodel on a contributing structure. 404 Apodaca Hill is located on the west side of Apodaca Hill, just south of Canyon Road. The structure at 404 Apodaca Hill is a single-family residence listed as contributing to the downtown and east side historic district. The 1,431 square foot single-story Maria Apodaca V Hill house is constructed of adobe with a hipped roof and was built around 1933 in a vernacular style. An addition at the west elevation was constructed circa 1987. At the same time, a porch was added to the east elevation. The home has textured stucco in a faded Amarillo tone. The roof is noted to have slight shed pitch and corrugated iron in the 1983 Hickpy form. The roof is currently sheathed with corrugated metal panels. The main historic residence door of the original structure faces north and is the primary entry to the structure. The north elevation porch has 5 crumbling concrete steps. The main entrance door is divided 3/4 glass door divided into 9 lights and does not appear to be historic. The door side lights have 5 panes each. The porch roof decking has large vigas topped with wide boards. A wood lintel runs above the opening. The beam is carved with a repeating pattern of stars and circles. The non-historic plywood structure to the west end of the north facade shelters the stairs to the basement. An entry on the east side of the house was installed prior to 1983. Most of the existing windows appear to have been installed in the 1950s and are still casement windows. The south elevation has 2 windows that appear to be older wood 3/1 sash windows. The north elevation, excluding the non-original elements consisting of the steel casement windows and the plywood stair covering, was designated the primary facade on June 13th, 2023, under case 2023-006848 HDR. The applicant now proposes the following exterior alterations: to change the roof line by removing both roofs and the crumbling bond beam and constructing a new roof. Existing roofs consist of a low-hipped metal roof of less than 1/12 and an older flat roof of unknown materials. The new roof will be a hipped roof with a 1.4/12 pitched roof clad in corrugated steel panels. The existing roof to the top of the pitch is 18 feet 4 inches in height. The new roof will be at 18 feet 10 inches, where the maximum allowable height is 15 feet 7 inches. For those of you unfamiliar with pitched roofs, the existing roof is the second pitch in the top row of the red pitches on the chart. The 1.4/12 pitch that is proposed is a pitch slightly less than halfway between the second and third pitches in the red chart. Top row, yes. Let me give them time to look at it. Exceptions are requested to section 14-5.2 D9 to exceed the maximum allowable height, and to section 14-5.2 D9D, construct a pitched roof where one is not allowed. A gutter system will be installed on the south side of the roof to divert water from draining on the neighboring lot. On the north elevation, the owners propose to demolish the plywood structure over the exterior stairs to the basement and replace it with a 3-foot high stucco wall around the stairs. Window replacement on the north elevation will include 2 4/3 aluminum clad windows painted white with divided lights. The window on the north side of the 1980s edition will be a 3/3 casement window with divided lights. On the west elevation, they're going to replace the roof on the west side addition with a 1.4/12 pitch roof clad in corrugated steel panels to match the new roof of the main portion of the residence. Remove and infill the door on the south side of the 1980s addition. Replace the 7-foot wide window of the 1980s addition on the west side of the structure with French doors. Construct a deck on the west side of the structure. And window replacement on the west elevation windows will continue to be 4/3 and 2/2 windows. It will be aluminum clad windows painted white with divided lights. On the east elevation, they're going to construct a freestanding carport on the east side of the house. The carport will be constructed of 8 inches by 8-inch beams and posts, painted white with a 3/12 rise corrugated steel roof to match the residence. I believe that was actually lowered to a 1/12. The carport will be to a height of 13 feet. They're going to demolish the east side porch cover and slab and infill the door. I will note that on my staff report, I said this was on the west elevation. It is actually on the east. They will be replacing windows on the east elevation, including replacing a 2/2 and a 2/3, and increasing a 2/2 to a 3/2 with aluminum clad windows painted white with divided lights. On the south elevation, window replacement will include removing a 2/3 wood sash window and infilling that location, removing the 4/4 steel casement window and installing 2/2 windows on either side of the fireplace, and replacing the double 2/3 wood sash window with a 4/2 window. All of the windows on the south elevation are proposed to have a 1-hour fire rating as required on the property line, and will be aluminum clad windows painted white with divided light. They are going to be installing an Adobe Light zero clearance wood burning fireplace at the window on the south elevation. This type of fireplace will have no exterior changes to the wall, but will have a chimney. The wall is at the 0 lot line, so this type of fireplace will prevent encroachment on the neighboring lot. The owners will also construct a garden fence to the maximum allowable height of 6 feet with antique wood gates, stucco columns, and latia fencing on the north and west sides of the house. The surround at the gates will be at a height of 8 feet, and the pilasters will be at 6 feet 6 inches. The latias will be at an even height with no variation. Electric lanterns will be installed on the posts of the antique gates, and the enclosure will include hardscaping, a patio, walkways, and landscaping. They're going to stucco the entire residence in cementitious stucco, similar in color to the Stowe San Antonio brown in a battered effect. They will also be demolishing 2 non-historic sheds on the northwest portion of the property These were previously removed, but approval is still required in order to be consistent with the proposed site plan. Exceptions are requested to section 14-5.2 D9 to exceed the maximum allowable height, and to section 14-5.2 D9D to construct a pitched roof where one is not allowed. Staff finds that all of the exception criteria for section 14-5.2 D9 to exceed the maximum allowable height, and to section 14-5.2 D9D to construct a pitched roof where one is not allowed are met. Staff recommends approval of the application as it complies with 14-5.2 D general design standards for all historic districts and 14-5.2 E downtown and east side historic district standard. I stand for questions.
Thank you very much, Lanny, for your report. You indicated on the field trip that this house has a portion, or is it, indicate to us what part is a low pitch, what the existing low pitch?
This is the existing. Back to that photo. So in the center of the roof as a whole has a small pitch, but in the center of it has a higher pitch portion. We believe this was actually constructed over some like fireplace chimney or something that was already.
And this pitch is so low that it cannot be publicly seen, correct?
Correct.
And what the applicant is proposing is also proposing a low pitch, correct?
Yes, it should be the same height as the pitch in the center there.
Okay, and I do appreciate that you showed us the chart. That's extremely helpful. And also, would you indicate again the allowable height and the proposed height?
The allowable height is 15 feet 7 inches. The building currently stands at 18.4. And there it's going to go up to 18.10.
Thank you. And also, is the applicant going to go with the textured stucco that is now on the house, or are they proposing a new stucco?
It's a battered stucco instead of textured the way it is.
Okay, thank you. Any other clarification questions for Lanny? Yes, Member Beachy.
Thank you. Lanny, could you remind me, with respect to the corner, the windows closer than 3 feet to the corner, does that apply to the east facade bathroom window that's positioned, just near the wall? If we look at the facade, you can see, yeah. Yeah, there, the east, or I'm sorry, the next one. No, sorry.
Are you,
Is it the west? Maybe it's the west, sorry.
I think you're thinking the one on the west. which
Yeah,
is
there,
already-
that one. Yes, west, I'm sorry.
That looks to be a window that was partially covered when they did the addition back in 1987. But that window is like literally right in the corner. I don't believe the 3-foot rule though would apply in this case.
Okay, because it's taken as part of the full facade. Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions at this time? Yes, Member Aguilar Madrano.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Lonnie, you gave a verbal description of a lot of the detail, like the color of the windows, what the stucco is going to be. I didn't see that indicated on the plans. I see like a photo of the windows included. I'm just curious, where is that detail noted? All the ones that you mentioned?
Those are in the proposal letter.
Okay, but not anywhere on the plans.
No, they're not drawn on the plans.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. And what are the colors of the windows?
The windows are all going to end up being white.
Anything else, board members, at this time? Member Bienvenue.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Lonnie, when we were on site today, we talked about the front door and the side lights. And I thought you had indicated that you thought they were going to replace those in kind, but when I re-reviewed the application, it didn't look like they were planning to replace those.
Correct.
Is that right?
I reread it too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just wanted to make sure I was right on that. Thank you.
If there are no further questions, I will ask for the applicant or applicants to come forward and get sworn in.
There has a question.
Yes, Heather.
Thank you, Chair Rios. It's not a question, but just a reminder as to process. So in this particular case, all of the exception requests have to do with height and are part of our height ordinance. And therefore, the board has the final authority on this. So this case, if the board were to grant these exceptions, would not need to go for council review. It would only go in case there was an appeal, but the board has the authority to render this decision.
Thank you for reiterating that. We appreciate it.
Do you swear under the penalty of perjury that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Thank you. Please state your name and address for the record.
Richard Van Sickle, 1122 East Alameda Street. The first thing I want to say is that the actual final height of the roof is 16 feet, something like that, with this lower slope. It's not 18 feet 9. That was our original request with a 312 pitch. So know that with as many different things as we've submitted, confusion would apply.
So reiterate that number, 16 feet. How
So I
many
believe
inches?
it's 16 feet 9 inches.
9 inches. Okay.
And also consider the fact that the foundation of the house sits 3.5 feet up on the north side before the house even starts. So it's very difficult to try and hit that 15'7" mark with any roof.
So you are requesting 1 foot 2 inches.
Basically, yes.
And do you have anything further to tell us other than what Lanny just told us?
If you have other questions, I'd be more than happy to answer them. She did a great job of covering what we want to do. We want to make this house as historic as we possibly can, while also making it a house that will be viable for many years to come.
Thank you. Board members, do you have questions for Mr. Van Sickle? Yes, member B.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I didn't see any reference to the concrete sills. I know the windows are being replaced, but do you plan on keeping the concrete sills?
We do.
Great, thank you.
We even intend to repair. There's a couple that actually need a repair. But
Any other questions, board members? Anyone in the audience wishing to comment on this particular case? We have John Eddie coming down. He'll get sworn in.
Do you swear under the penalty of perjury that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Please
Thank
state your name and address for the record.
My name is John Eddy. My address is number 14 Avenida Campo Verde, 7506, Santa Fe. Thank you, Madam Chair, board members. When I looked at this application earlier, I was alarmed at height. And I'm grateful for the applicant that he kind of cleared that up, because height was definitely going to be an issue walking into the meeting here. I think they're within bounds. I know that you need to scrutinize the exceptions and be happy and content that the exceptions have been met technically, because you are kind of pushing it a little bit here. I personally believe that this change that they're making with this roof is really going to help this house immensely. One thing I'm cautious of is the protection of the bull noses on the windows. They're not really consistent all the way around the house, but perhaps the applicant would consider leaving thick bull noses on all of the windows when they're done. Some of them are squared off. I believe the fireplace light is an interesting innovation that does mimic the lights on the front door, which I think is a clever thing. So by and large, I urge you to accept this as has been presented to you, and look forward to your discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Eddy. Anyone else in this audience wishing to comment on this case? No one else? Anyone on Zoom?
Yes, Chair Rios, Stephanie Benenato would like to speak. Stephanie, please remember to get sworn and state your address. Thank you.
Do you swear under the penalty of perjury that the testimony you're about to give Is the truth, the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Can you speak a little louder, please?
Can you hear me now?
Not very well. Can you speak, try to get it closer to the mic?
I'm really almost on top of the mic. Can you
Okay,
hear
good,
me now?
that's good. Please
Okay.
state your name and address for the record.
Stephanie Beninatto, PO Box 1601, Santa Fe, New Mexico. And please let me know if you wind up not hearing me. I'll try to readjust, okay? So I understand that this is a hip roof house and they want to continue that, but it is actually non-conforming and you're increasing the non-conformity. So I just want to point that out because I think a little discussion around that might be helpful to support the position that you may or may not take. I'm also just kind of wondering about all the windows, so many windows being replaced. And the wall, the facade that has the new fireplace on it, I'm hoping that is not a contributing facade. Because I would think there could be other places that's not contributing, not on a contributing wall. I'm also wondering about the carport and how far away from the structure it is and how, you know, not proud of the structure. Like, is it level with the structure? Is it set back a little bit? And really, I don't think that you should have a hipped roof really on the carport. I think it can just be a plain carport or the shed, whatever it was that they wanted to put this other, you know, hipped roof on. I think that, you know, it's just pushing the idea that you could continue this non-conforming use. Thank you.
Thank you. I think there are no other commenters. Is that correct on Zoom?
That's correct, Chair Buick.
So board members, if you have nothing further to add, I will entertain a motion, please. Member Aguilar Medrano.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have just a couple of comments. The first one being, I think because this is a contributing building, I thought that that meant the texture of the adobe must be kept. Belani, you stated that they're changing it, so I'm curious why that was your recommendation.
Applicant, you actually should be near the podium in case we need to ask any further questions.
Texture of the stucco, the actual texture is similar, but we want to show that it's an adobe house, so it's not going to be completely smooth. Bulges and things because of the adobe. That's what we're talking about. But it's going to be, but the stucco itself, the material is the same material that's on it now.
Okay,
Does that help?
I think so. Can you speak to what the material is, what the steps are going to be on the north facade and then also the new wall to the stairwell?
So, so the wall to the stairwell likely built from block, but it will be stucco, the same as the house. And the stairs will be concrete, like they are now. They'll be new.
Just standard gray. Let me look through here. I think other than that, I think in general, I think the plans lack some detail. I don't know that I would be comfortable approving it just without having things like the colors and finishes, items that are to be preserved and maintained. None of that is noted on the plans. I think that would probably be a pretty quick administrative thing, but typically we'd like to see all that kind of detail on the plans, colors, finishes, things like that. Also I forgot who it was that mentioned, but also the recess on all of the windows. I think in the HICP report, it even described that that was one of the characteristics, that they were really deep. And this packet doesn't, I'm hoping that you're maintaining that, and that's just like another example of a detail that we would typically like to see noted on the plans.
Member Aguilar Medrano, it was indicated that the windows will all be white. Whether what other colors are you,
Yes, I think
you questioning
not questioning, just I would
or
want them.
wanting to know?
Yeah, I think Lanny gave a verbal description, so I think we know them, but I think just for documenting purposes, they should be on the plan. So it was the color of the windows, the finish of the roof, that the concrete sills are remaining in place, that the moon and star beam is remaining in place, that the front door and side lights are remaining in place. I think just for documenting purposes, I would want that on the plans themselves rather than just a verbal record.
Thank you. And sir, what is the color of the roof? And the material?
Be gray metal, just like it is now, same material. Corrugated metal.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments, board members? If not, motion is in order at this time. Yes, Member Benvenue.
I actually do have one more question. So what about the carport? Is that a pitched roof? And is an exception necessary for that, or is that allowed?
They did an exception for pitch roofs.
So was that
It's
addressed?
part with this, it's the same as the exceptions for the house.
Right, but the grounds for the exception for the house all relate to the history of the house. So wouldn't the grounds need to be different for a carport, the carport that's freestanding and newly constructed? I mean, I find the grounds persuasive for the house, just so you know. I don't know how they would apply though to the carport.
Heather?
Chair Rios, Member Bienvenue, sorry, I was looking at the packet. With reference to the exception criteria and whether they addressed a carport as well. Certainly there's different criteria that do apply in that case. So it's up to the pleasure of the board whether to determine that, whether it's sufficient that as to site versus as to building.
Right. And I it's also helpful to have staff's view of the exception criteria, which I also agreed with in this case. I thought you did a nice job of agreeing and not just rubber stamping what the applicant had suggested, but actually adding to that. And again, I found it persuasive. I'm not sure the only rationale I can see here is that to be consistent with the house, that maybe I'm missing something. Maybe the applicant can address how the exception criteria would be met for the carport. And also, could we see a drawing of the carport? I was just flipping through and not able to locate it right away.
So from
Okay.
from the owner's perspective, we feel that the consistency of having the carport and the house look the same is appropriate, and the slope of each roof would be identical. So they would look like they went together. I don't think that we were asked to create some specific exception for the carport. But we would be using the same reasoning we were using with the house.
Does that answer your question, Member?
Well, it answers it, but it doesn't satisfy. I totally understand your reasoning, and I can see from a homeowner's perspective exactly what you're saying. You think it would look nice to be consistent. Unfortunately, we have these extremely stringent exception criteria that have to be met. Very high hurdles to get over, and I'm just not sure there's any way to do that with a newly constructed carport in this case. Yeah, I don't think that just being consistent with the house would be sufficient to satisfy all the criteria, unfortunately.
Other board members have any views in reference to this? My opinion is that if Heather said the board can go ahead and approve the carport, I think that the applicant has done a good job in having the carport and the house in harmony with one another. And they complement one another, so yeah. I'm not a voting member unless there's a tie. And that's my opinion.
I'll make a motion.
You're going to try it for a motion? Yeah. Please do.
Okay, so in case 404 Apodaca Hill, 2023-006937 HDRB. I would move that findings be entered adopting the view of staff that the exception criteria for the house roof, both as to height and pitch, have been satisfied in this case. And that the application should otherwise be approved as submitted for the house. But I would find that there has not been an adequate showing that the pitched roof, the exceptions for pitch or the carport have been satisfied in this instance. And I would encourage the applicant to come back with another try at that with more information if so desired. But based on the record today, I would find that the criteria have not been met for the carport and deny on that basis.
Is there a second to this motion? It's not a second to the motion, so the motion dies. I will entertain another motion.
Madam Chair, maybe we can have just a little bit of discussion on that. I think in just rereading the responses to the exception criteria, while acknowledging that the current pitched roof on the contributing structure should remain the same in order to retain that history, I think that the responses that indicate that the pitched roof is, blends with the streetscape. 31% of the streetscape is pitched roofs. This is a small roof. It complements the house. It's near the house. I think that it serves to mimic what we find characteristic about the contributing structure. And I think a case can be made that that the pitched roof on the carport is the preferred design detail as opposed to a stucco parapet or a flat roof. In my opinion, I think the exception criteria would be answered the same way if separated for the carport alone. I'd be happy to unless someone else wants to say something. Yeah, in case number 2023-6937 HDRB at 404 Apodaca Hill, I move to approve the application as submitted, noting that the exception criteria for height and pitched roof have been met. And noting that the request for the applicant to work with the staff to indicate colors and finishes on the plans be finalized before seeking a permit.
Is there a second to the motion? Is there anything further to add?
Aguilar Madrano will second. I would add a friendly amendment that they also specify which elements are to remain in place, such as the beam on the north facade, the cement sills, and then the door and side lights on the primary facade as well.
I accept that as friendly. Thank you.
Anything further to add? If not, roll call vote, please.
Member Mather,
Yes.
Member Baldo,
I would like to say to Madam Chair and to my fellow board members and to the public, I did not have the opportunity. This is my very first meeting, and to be fair to everyone and to this board, I would like to put a no vote.
stay.
Yes, thank
Okay,
you.
thank you. Member Aguilar Madrano,
Yes.
Member Beachside,
Yes.
Member Bienvenue.
No.
The motion has been approved.
Thank you. Next case is located at 213 Washington Avenue. Is that applicant here? The applicants are here. And this is also Lanny's case. Let us hear it, please.
Evening, Madam Chair and board members, this is case 2023-007058 HDRB for 213 Washington Avenue for a remodel on a non-contributing structure. 213 Washington is located on the east side of Washington Avenue, south of Federal Place and north of East Marcy Street. The structure was originally Dee's Restaurant or El Mesón. The commercial property at 213 Washington Avenue is listed as non-contributing to the downtown and east side historic district and was constructed after 1975 as a restaurant. The original building is constructed in the vernacular architectural style and features a full wall of windows on the west elevation with a rounded corner that leads to the entryway, which is set back from the line of the building. The north and east elevations are void of openings. The east elevation is on the property line. The north elevation is set back from the property line by 5 feet. In addition to the southeast portion of the building was constructed in the early 2000s in a Spanish Pueblo style, which eliminated the southern openings. As a result of the addition, the south elevation abuts the neighboring buildings to the south and the east. The windows along the west facade were exchanged for smaller windows in a symmetrical line at the center height of the wall as part of the remodel that coincided with the addition in the early 2000s. The Historic Preservation Division no longer has the records for the 1999 case, which went before the HDRB. Therefore, the previous case is not included in your packet. The west elevation has a portal that extends over the city's right-of-way sidewalk. The owners of the property are required to hold an agreement with the city of Santa Fe for the use of that right-of-way as it pertains to the portal. The new owners are currently in negotiations with the city regarding this agreement, which must be in place prior to permits being issued. The city property manager has been contacted regarding the remodel of the portal and has no concerns with the proposed construction scope of work. The applicant proposes the following exterior alterations. While retaining the existing portal structure, they're going to change the design to a Spanish Pueblo style by eliminating the overhang, installing a parapet, double column posts, a header, and stucco piers at each end of the portal. There are currently 4 windows with shutters on the west elevation. The shutters will be removed and 2 additional divided light windows will be installed. The single emergency exit door on the north end will be a plain panel door. The main entrance located in the stepped back portion of the wall is currently a single door with a 1/5 side light windows on either side. This will be replaced with 2 solid decorative wood doors. 2 existing windows on the west elevation of the newer addition will remain. The door will be converted to a window to match the existing windows. The windows are to remain with 23-inch diagonal dimension glass lights. They're going to create a new window opening on the north facade. The new window will be a fire rated fixed window unit because it's immediately adjacent to the property line. This is divided into 20-inch diagonal dimension glass lights, and a header will be installed to match the header above the main entrance and the portal header. The new gas and electric meters will be installed further east on that northern wall to replace those that are currently located where the window will be installed. The meters will be painted to match the stucco. There are no changes planned for the eastern facade. They're going to create a new opening on the south facade for a doorway to enter the proposed outdoor dining area from the entry vestibule. They're going to insert The door on the south elevation to allow for access to the proposed patio. I think I repeated myself. The door will be divided light, which is divided into 24-inch diagonal dimension glass lights. And a header will be installed to match the header above the main entrance and the portal header. Exterior lighting will be provided at the doors as required. Though the style of sconce has not yet been determined, the style will need to be approved by staff prior to the application for a building permit. They're going to create an outdoor dining area with a 42-inch high yard wall with wooden pedestrian gate on the south side of the main entrance. Hardscaping and landscaping will be installed in the courtyard area, and umbrellas will be used for shade. Exterior lighting in the courtyard will consist of small lamps on each table and small landscape lamps in the planter. The design of the landscape lamps has not yet been determined and will need to be approved by staff prior to application for building permit. They're going to remove and infill 2 skylights on the roof of the south addition. The entire structure will be stuccoed using Stowe synthetic to match the El Rey color Sahara and Stowe synthetic to match El Rey color marble white under the portal. All windows will be aluminum clad wood windows in a dark bronze. All wood stain is a custom color. The sample is provided. The existing rooftop mechanical units will remain and be repaired as necessary. I would like to note that the dining area removes all off-street parking options on the property. The owners are working on a parking agreement with neighboring properties. This agreement will need to be approved by the city's current planning team and meet ADA requirements and be in place prior to the issuance of construction permits. Staff recommends approval of the proposed project and finds that the application complies with section 14-5.2D, general design standards for all historic districts, and 14-5.2E for downtown and east side design standards. Please consider conditions of the board to include an agreement with the city of Santa Fe for the use of the right of way as it pertains to the portal. That'll be in place prior to the issuance of permits. And a parking agreement shall be approved by the city's current planning team and the city's ADA office prior to the issuance of the construction permit. Stand for questions.
Thank you, Lanny. Any questions or comments? I do want to indicate that you handed to us a letter of support for the project by a neighbor of the applicant.
Yes, thank you.
And will the applicant or applicants get sworn in?
Tom Ortiz, 52 Condessa Road.
I need to swear you in. That's okay. Do you swear under the penalty of perjury that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Thank you. Please state your name and address.
Tom Ortiz, 52 Condessa Road, Santa Fe, New Mexico.
Yes, sir. Mr. Ortiz, what do you have to tell us?
Well, I think Lonnie did a really great job. She's incredibly thorough. Thank her for that. Thank the board and Chair for taking the time to go through this project with us. The owners are very passionate about, they found this building. They have an existing business right now. This is an opportunity where they found a building they really want to bring it back into some sort of, where it feels as though it's contributing to the Washington Avenue streetscape, and that includes really fixing this portal, adding more light so that, from being inside the restaurant as well as being outside, there's more street visibility as people are walking up and down Washington. They can see into the space, or see the patio activity. So those things were, those were our kind of goals, get this approved. And also, although it's a non-contributing building, it's kind of on that verge to where it will become contributing at some point in the near future. And we wanted to make sure that, it's something that fits in, follows the design criteria for buildings that have contributed to a street. That's it.
Any questions for the applicant at this time, board members? Member Aguilar Ventrano.
Thank you, Madam Chair. No questions, just a comment. I think all of the proposed changes are really nice. This issue, when we were talking about outdoor dining at the last hearing came up. And I made the suggestion of having a requirement for lower walls for outdoor dining for this very reason. I think I'm really happy to see that you kept that wall low because I think it just really activates the street and makes it more lively when passerbys can see people dining. So I think that's really lovely. And Richard, as always, your packets are just beautiful and so well put together. And is this your hand drawing? Is this yours?
This is Lisa. This is
Oh, it's beautiful.
probably seen a lot of her drawings.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's not required, but it's always really helpful and fun to see a finished rendering like this. So yeah, I'm completely in support of your packet.
Thank you. I support, I also agree with Member Aguilar Medrano. I think that changing the porch to this style is adding, and it's way better than what is existing there. I believe it's more exciting, and I think it'll draw people to the business. Any other comments or questions, Member?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, just a comment on the portal. I like it as well. I think it really helps with the massing of this building, which is rather nondescript, but simple, nice massing. I think this really adds to that. I was looking around the streetscape to see if you were imitating anything. I didn't really see anything, but it did remind me of First National Bank a bit. Okay.
The door design came from St. Francis Auditorium. In the existing plan, there's a curved wall. We're actually building the mass of the front facade out, so we get that deep opening that feels like an Adobe, like you're entering this Adobe house. And that was taken from the St. Francis Auditorium.
Great. So you've got rap and meme as your progenitors, which is good. Thanks.
Any other questions or comments, board members? Anyone from the public wishing to comment, come forward now and get sworn in. Ma'am, you have your hand raised. Please come forward to the podium. Oh, okay, I can't hear you and
Do you swear under the penalty of perjury that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Thank you. Please state your name and address for the record.
Catherine Rivera, PO Box 363 in Santa Fe, 87501. I don't have a comment more than a rhetorical question because I'm only allowed that at this stage. I appreciate the drawings. I'm seeing this for the first time. I question what is going to happen with the tree. When we saw the actual pictures of the parking lot, now that it's going to be this dining area and this rendering, I'm just questioning, is the tree going to remain? Is there a different tree? Is this a new tree? Can anybody talk about the tree?
thank you.
There is a significant tree right in front of the parking area, which is what she's in reference to, and that tree will be remaining.
Did you hear that, Ms. Rivera, that the tree will remain? Mr. Eddie has been sworn in and he wants to make a comment.
Chair, I'm grateful that the tree was brought up because that is important. I do appreciate the renderings. I think that this project is going to be much improved by the proposals that they are bringing to you. The one concern I have is on the north facade. Perhaps an image of the north facade can be brought up. The height of that window. It's actually not the height of the window, it's the depth of the window to the ground. It looks like it approaches grade to a degree that I'm not certain is within our code. If I'm making sense to you, that window comes down to, it looks like it's between 1 foot and 16 inches of the grade of the sidewalk. Maybe the applicant can clarify that for you. We saw this happen on Old Santa Fe Trail on a merchant's building, which I spoke against at the time, and I think is inappropriate downtown. Our Adobe buildings normally don't have windows that come that close to grade at the bottom of the window. So I'd like to see a little bit of discussion about that. Perhaps it is completely within code, but perhaps it's not. Thank you.
Mr. Ortiz, can you comment on that, please? How close is it to the ground?
believe it's 16 inches. And you can take, according to code, you can take a window as low as 12 inches from grade. Just brought it a little higher because there will be some landscaping in front of us. But we did consult photo plans for that. CPO, the preliminary zoning approved.
Thank you. Anyone else in this audience wishing to comment on this particular case? No one? Do we have anyone on Zoom?
Yes, Chair Rios. Stephanie Beninato would like to speak. Stephanie, you've been previously sworn.
Yes, thank you. Stephanie Beninato. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. I appreciate the changes and I do appreciate that the dining area is not on the street and that the wall is low so that it will engage both diners and pedestrians, I think in a better way than higher walls. And I also like the portal because it'll give more, well, it helps break up the mass, but it also gives a place of shelter for pedestrians in downtown for a little bit longer. I do agree with Mr. Eddy's comments, especially about that north facade and that very low window. And I have to say that on that other building downtown where you did approve it virtually to the ground, they now have just covered those over. They insisted they needed them for marketing purposes, but really they've just put, some block in front of it. I don't mean like literally a block, but a visual block that's not displaying or helping them display anything more than they would have without the windows. So I just caution the board because I know it's a commercial building. I know it's non-contributing, but I really find that jarring. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else on Zoom?
No, Chair Rios.
Board members, are you ready to make a motion? I'm ready to hear it. Oh, I have one more question. What is the cuisine gonna be? Huh? Oh, sure.
Do you swear under the penalty of perjury that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Thank you. Please state your name and address.
112 Del Rio Drive. Our restaurant is Market Steer Steakhouse in the Hotel St. Francis. So we have a Italian steakhouse.
Okay,
So we're
thank you. Just curious.
we're so excited to have the opportunity to have a building in downtown Santa Fe and are thrilled to be a long-standing member of a tiny but mighty culinary group here. So thank you for considering our proposal.
I will entertain a motion at this time, board members. I'll speak up. Okay.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Before I make a motion, can staff advise on what the wording needs to be in terms of the agreement with the portal?
We signed the agreement with the city of Santa Fe this morning.
Okay,
We have an executed agreement with the portal.
okay, perfect. And Tom, I did not mean to leave you out of my compliments about the drawings. They're yours as well. So really nice packet. All right, in case number 2023-007-058 at 213 Washington Avenue, I move to approve the application as submitted.
Beach, I will second. And just a clarification from staff, was there to be some mention of the parking agreement in the, as a condition?
Yes. The way I wrote it was, a parking agreement shall be approved by the city's current planning team and the city's ADA officer prior to the issuance of construction permits.
As a friendly amendment, we include the statement that Lonnie just read out. Thank you.
Except it's friendly. I think that's the one I was thinking of when I asked about the portal. Thank you, Lanny.
Thank you. Anything further to add, board members? If not, let's take a roll call vote, please.
Member Mather,
Yes.
Member Valdo,
Same.
Member Aguilar Medrano,
Yes.
Member Beachside,
Yes.
Member Bienvenue.
Yes.
The motion has been approved.
Thank you very much and good luck on your project. Oh, what's the timeline, you all? The last case on the agenda is located at 1249 Cerro Gordo. And this is Ramon's, and there's one gentleman remaining, so I'm going to guess he's the applicant. And that would be you. May we hear the case, Ramon? Thank you.
Good evening, Madam Chair and members of the board. This is case 2023-006969. This residence is accessed via a private road off of Cerro Gordo. And only a small portion of the south elevation is visible from Cerro Gordo Road. The residence is in downtown East Side Historic District. The status was reviewed on April 11th, 2023, case number 2023-6553 HDRB. The board agreed with the staff recommendations at that hearing that the historic status of the structure be maintained as non-contributing. The owner now is proposing a series of exterior modifications, including replace all current aluminum windows with multi-pane historically appropriate divided light windows, minor modifications to existing openings, replace windows on the north sewing room area that are currently kind of funky with square or rectangular windows with divided lights with panes not to exceed 30 inches on the diagonal. This is the floor plan. While the general footprint of the compound dwelling is over 50 years old, cumulative changes to the exterior affected the vernacular character you may have had earlier. These involved the replacement of windows and the addition of porches, and the sewing room was added in the 1970s. Much of the home's construction is in rough condition, and I'm encouraged to be a devoted owner that wants to bring this place back to life. This is approaching the property from Cerro Gordo Road, and we will take a look around the exteriors, beginning with this south facade and working our way counterclockwise. This is the south facade with a low planter in front, and you can see a bit of the sewing room to the left. This is the south facade. Note here that the stone wall at the portal indicates the original extent of what was the portal. It had been infilled and added these arched windows. The owner would like to restore the original portal by removing those windows and rebuilding them. The sewing room will receive a new recessed rectangular windows. This is the east elevation. Garage doors have been added by administrative approval since this photo was taken. New windows and doors here again. The parapet above the garage will be raised to create prevention a fall prevention area and a viewing deck added up on top of the garage. This is the north portion of the east elevation. This is what they call the apartment / storage room. The whole project will be completely re-stuccoed, and the portal that you see to your right of this image will be rebuilt. There will be a new, as part of that rebuild, there will be a new 6-foot high coyote fence creating a patio to the east and an arched doorway that's incorporated in the rebuilding of the portal. This portal renovation will also raise the parapet height to, I think it's 12 feet where 14 feet is permitted. This is the north elevation. As we work our way around to the west, again, new windows here, new stucco, and some minor modifications to the window openings themselves. Again, farther around to the west, minor window opening modifications and replacement of replaced with new divided light windows. This is the existing and proposed floor plan. Nothing really changes in the plans in the footprint of the building itself. Drawings of the existing south elevation and the proposed south elevation below. You can see where they're rebuilding that portal. Existing and proposed east elevations. This is the south end of the east elevation. The existing are above and the proposed are below. The north end of the existing exterior southeast facade. You can see the addition of a new entranceway into the interior courtyard. It currently has an iron gate. They would like to extend the parapet above the garage and create a recessed doorway entrance into that courtyard. And below you can see a new Viga-like portal that's added to the apartment storage room and the new coyote fence. This is the modifications intended for the north facade of the apartment storage room. The existing is above and the proposed is below. The west elevation existing and the west elevation proposed below. The windows will be like a textured aluminum window, and the color is that Swift espresso. Stucco will be the that. I believe it's the La Luz, but I'll have to ask the client for sure on that. Staff recommends approval of the proposed project and finds that the application complies with section 14-5.2D, general design standards for all historic districts, and 14-5.2E, downtown and east side design standards. With that, I'll take any questions.
Ramon, any questions for Ramon at this time? Yes, member Aguilar Madron.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Ramon, is the door also aluminum?
Yes,
And are the windows true divided lights or simulated?
I'll have to check the specifications, but probably the building owner can
Okay.
answer that question.
And then on the north elevation, there's a new rail. Can you speak any more to what that looks like, the color, the material, or if not, the applicant can as well?
I'd like the applicant to answer that.
Okay, thanks.
Anything else? Member Aguilar Madron?
No, thank you, Madam Chair.
Any other questions? Board members, no. Applicant, please come forward and get sworn in, please.
You swear under the penalty of perjury that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Thank you. Please state your name and address for the record.
Paul Ludick, 1249 Cerro Gordo, Santa Fe.
What do you have to add?
The railing on the north side will be steel, which will be probably painted similar to what the windows are. The windows have a texture to them. They're aluminum, but there's a texture to it to give it kind of an old look to it. So it's not flat and perfectly smooth. We thought that was important.
Ask a clarification. So the rail, so it's not wrought iron.
It is wrought iron,
Oh, it is wrought iron?
steel, wrought iron,
Okay.
metal. Round, it'll probably be, generally I've used 5/8 round with a flat top to it for a railing.
Okay, thank you. And can you give us a description of the outdoor lighting? Wasn't included in the packet? Do you
Yeah,
have
it
that
is.
discussion?
I'm not fond of outdoor lighting, so all the entrances will have ceiling light
Okay,
cans. And there is one light between the two garage doors, which will be a dark skies approved canopy light. I don't have the specific light itself, but it will be a dark sky approved down. But everything will be in the ceiling or can.
and are the garage doors wood?
They are.
And then painted to match that kind of black tone as
Yes,
well?
exactly. The design of the doors was based on my neighbor's gate down the road because I wanted to maintain architectural look.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions for the applicant, board members? While they're thinking, I'll ask if the public has, if anyone here remaining has comments or questions, and Mr. Eddie is coming forward. And he has been sworn in.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm assuming that the north facade is not visibly visible from the public thoroughfare. Is that correct? Great, thank you.
That's it. Anyone else wishing to comment on this project? No one? Anyone on Zoom?
Yes, Chair Rios, Ms. Stephanie Beninati would like to speak.
Stephanie Beninati, thank you. I realize that most of this is not visible. I'm wondering how many people do use that private road, because I thought that had something to do with whether you had more jurisdiction or not. And I also have to say that it's been very hard to hear people speaking, particularly not this applicant, although he cut in and out, but the applicant before. Really, you could hardly hear most of what he said. I hope that it is actually more audible on YouTube, because really it wasn't to somebody on this call. Thank you.
Thank you. I guess there's no one else on Zoom. And I will entertain a motion. Member Bienvenue.
Thank you, Madam Chair. If there's no further discussion, I'll go ahead and make a motion in this case. First of all, you've taken on a challenging project. I saw this house when it was on the market and it needed a lot of work. And I think it wasn't really, yeah, it still does. It wasn't really obvious exactly how to go about it, just looking at the property. So you've done a nice job of tackling that. My only slight hesitation was the color of the windows, which, I don't consider really historic, that deep, dark, grayish, blackish tone, but I think the packet says that they're matching existing. Is that right? Was that the reason for the choice?
Madam Chair, if there's going to be, he needs to come to. Thank you.
Fine. Doing so much walking and studying other homes, we found that the darker frame for us was a nicer look to it. It created more depth in the wall by using the darker frame, and that's why we chose that. We didn't like, as I mentioned earlier, a smooth black. The Stiff Espresso, as I said, has a texture, a very kind of pebbly texture, which just adds a certain, for me, age quality to it. And that's why we chose a darker frame. I've always been, I like the light blue, that I see around, but I thought that might be a little too much. So we went with the darker, especially when there's no light on the glass. The glass kind of goes dark. So you're just creating these dark shapes in the wall, which I think is just a nice look. And looking at these photographs that Ramon put up, it's a little depressing thinking about all the work that's going to entail. I've done this for 40 years. And every time it kind of overwhelms me, the amount of work that I've got to put into it, but it's worth it because it's a beautiful house and I do want to bring it back to life. And so that's about it.
Well, I appreciate the texturing of it. I still think, you can just look at the picture right there and that looks like it belongs on a contemporary house.
It does, but the contrast is white glass and you don't have white glass in real life. So it creates more of a shape instead of, the lines.
Right.
The lines disappear and you just create these shapes.
Yeah. Well, I'm not going to put in a motion that you can't have that color, but if you're really trying to look traditional, which I think you are, you're trying to match the streetscape, you might reconsider that to some extent.
To what?
To something lighter in color. So it's not quite so blackish. That's definitely a black.
Entertain that, but
Sure. It's up to you.
I was waiting for this meeting to order the windows anyways, because I didn't know how it was going to go. So
that's my opinion. I do think it's a little jarring against the, what you're creating, a very traditional looking structure. Which also I would like to ask about the reveals. Are you going to have deep reveals from the exterior so that it does look like thick walls?
reveals, meaning where the frame is set in the wall.
Yes.
Ramon mentioned that on the sewing room, we're calling it a kiva. They will be recessed, and any rough window opening that we need to replace, we'll set it back too, because I do love the visual aspect of setback windows. And with this being an adobe wall, they're at least 15 inches thick,
Right.
which is so amazing. So to have that reveal both the inside and outside is definitely what we'll do if the window is appropriate for that new rough opening that we have to put in.
Okay, yeah, I think that would be very important in
Yeah,
this
sure.
property.
Right.
Sometimes even people with the thick walls, they like to create the entire reveal on the interior.
Right.
And get a very flat facade, which is, ruins the effect and also is actually contrary to the.
Right. No, I totally agree with you.
Okay. And all the round, you're not really doing much in the way of exterior, but all of the radiuses, you'll have rounded corners on
As much as possible.
every corner.
Absolutely.
Okay, well, I'll go ahead and. any
Hold
further
on a little
discussion?
minute.
Yes, sorry.
Member Benvenu.
Thank you.
Member, Ryan.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just realized I needed to follow up about if the windows are true divided lights or simulated.
They're going to have a spacer and then a piece on both inside and outside of the glass. I don't know if that
Okay,
is what you're referring to, but it will look like it's a true divided light. But
okay, yeah, I
it will
think,
be a double pane glass with a spacer and then pieces on the inside and outside of it.
okay, perfect. Yeah, and I also typically have the same reservations about the black color. If this were contributing, I think I'd be more of a stickler about it. But given that it's not contributing, I think this will move through. I know we ran into this issue recently in the past. I know one of our recommendations that helps, minorly, is the hardware. So maybe not choosing a stainless steel against the black might help a little bit, but
I'm sorry, stainless steel.
like in the photo here, I think that adds to the contemporary
definitely,
feel.
That won't be, it will be
Yeah.
dark.
Yeah, I figured
I'll
that was just like a stock photo.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Right, thank you. That was all.
Yeah, that was just a stock photo.
Yes, Member Beach.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a question about the drawings on the east elevation. There's one for the portal end and one for the south end, and I may be reading this wrong, so I just like some clarification. For the garage height on the portal elevation shows the garage height at 12 feet, and the south end shows it at 11.6. Is that correct, or is there a discrepancy? And so the garage parapet is being raised by how much?
Right, the original height, I think, is 9 feet 6 inches.
Mhm.
So it's being raised 2.5 feet because we're going to have a deck on top
Right.
of the garage and we need a 40-inch railing parapet around the deck.
Right, and
That's why it's being raised to 12.
got it. And the resulting parapet will be approximately the same height as the existing parapet above the front door? Is it like the result is I'm sorry, the side door on the east side. I guess what I'm asking is is the garage, it's sort of flush with the rest of the house in the end. It's not
Pretty much,
noticeably higher.
it's pretty much the same.
Okay.
I mean, it steps back. You know,
He needs to take the mic.
uh, This is the closest to you. This steps back and then this steps back. So there's 3 different.
Got it. Okay. Yes, thank you. So I suppose if someone's making a motion, we should ask for just a double check on the dimensions for the height on the drawings.
You can always add that as an amendment to the motion.
Thank you.
And I do want to thank the applicant for agreeing to look into wanting or perhaps changing the color of the windows. I think the point that Member Benvenu made and also Member Aguilar Medrano, that it's the black is really not the most traditional in this style of home. So I would like for you to really be serious about looking into that.
Absolutely. Technically, it's not black. It's a little kind of charcoal dark, but I will definitely look into it. Sure. I
Thank
have
you.
no problem with that. I want everybody to be happy with this, to move it forward. So I'll lighten it up. I promise.
Maker of the motion, I will entertain it right now.
I'll try. Thank you, Madam Chair. So in case number 2023-006969 HDRB 1249 Cerro Gordo, move to approve the application as submitted, noting that the applicant has indicated that there will be do you want to give us a number for the reveals on the exterior? A minimum of what?
6 inches?
Minimum of 6-inch reveals for the windows. All corners will be rounded and the applicant has indicated a willingness to revisit the color of the windows given the board's concerns that regarding the black, near black color that's been submitted. And what were you adding? Want to add that?
You want to,
Yes.
Yeah,
That's
let's
the
have a
motion.
second to the motion.
which I will second with a friendly amendment that the applicant take another look at the drawings to ensure the dimensions are consistent with respect to the height of the garage on all elevations.
Accepted.
I think. The addition on the west-north side was a cinder block. So it's not adobe, so it's not as thick. A lot of the windows, we are going to be utilizing the existing frame that's there and just placing new windows on it. So those will not have a 6-inch reveal to them. As I said, when we are going to be replacing the wooden frame that the window will be mounted on, we could push it back to create a reveal, but not all the windows will have a reveal.
Will they
Like
come-
the side on the south end. Yeah. These windows here are existing, which we're just going to be replacing. And there might be like a 2-inch reveal there, which we'll maintain. But all windows will not have a 6-inch. So I just wanted to clarify that as you're putting it into the motion.
Sure. So so to clarify that the 6-inch reveals for those in the adobe walls that can be made that way, but there will still be a 2-inch, approximately 2-inch reveal on all other windows as well. We're just trying to obviously avoid flat
Absolutely.
windows flush with the exterior.
Curved corners. Working with this Adobe kind of architecture is really a wonderful thing, and I will have as many curves as possible.
Okay.
Anything further?
No.
We have a motion and we have a second. Anything else to add? Nothing? Roll call vote, please.
Member Valdo,
Abstain.
Member Aguilar Medrano,
Yes.
Member Beachside,
Yes.
Member Bienvenue, Member Mather.
Yes.
The motion has been approved. Thank you very much.
And good luck on that project of yours. Anything under discussion items? Either board members or Heather?
Chair Rios, no. From
No,
staff.
or anyone? Thank you. Matters from the board? Anybody? No. And our next meeting is August the 8th. And I will entertain a motion for adjournment.
Aguilar Medrano, so moved.
Second.
And roll call vote, please.
Member Aguilar Medrano,
Yes.
Member Beachside,
Yes.
Member Bienvenue,
Yes.
Member Mather,
Yes.
Member Valdo.
Yes.
The motion has been approved.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. And we'll see you on the 8th of August.